The walls of Buckingham Palace have absorbed secrets for generations, whispers of power and sacrifice that rarely escape into public view. But what has emerged in recent days transcends the usual palace intrigue. This isn't another carefully orchestrated public relations exercise designed to soften difficult truths. This is something far more definitive, something that speaks to the very nature of institutional survival when it collides with human bonds. Prince William and Princess Anne, two individuals who embody the unwavering spine of the contemporary monarchy, have made clear what many suspected but few possessed the courage to articulate openly. The matter concerning Prince Harry is not a temporary arrangement subject to reconsideration. It is not a pause designed to allow tempers to cool or wounds to heal. It represents a permanent and irrevocable restructuring of relationships, roles, and expectations. For anyone who comprehends how power truly operates, this moment signifies far more than a prominent family airing its grievances in the public arena. What we are witnessing is institutional surgery of the most radical kind, performed with clinical precision and without the comfort of anesthesia. A prince is being transformed into a private individual. A brother is being redefined as someone outside the circle of trust and authority. This is not happening through malice or personal vendetta. William and Anne have not pursued this course because of cruelty or a desire for revenge. They have arrived at this position through the cold, unforgiving calculations that monarchy demands, where every element must serve the larger purpose of continuity and stability. Harry, in their assessment, has become a problem that cannot be solved within the existing framework. Consider the extraordinary burden that rests on William's shoulders. Here is a man who walked beside his brother through the unimaginable trauma of losing their mother while the world watched. He shared the peculiar isolation that comes with royal life, that gilded cage where every action is scrutinized and every relationship is complicated by protocol and position. He understood, perhaps better than anyone else on earth, what it meant to grow up under the suffocating weight of expectation and duty. Yet according to those with knowledge of internal palace dynamics, it was William who championed this decision with an iron resolve that some observers might characterize as merciless. The question naturally arises, why would he pursue such a course? The answer lies in what William sees when he looks toward the future. He sees his own children, George, Charlotte, and Louis, growing up in an era where clarity is essential and ambiguity breeds instability. He sees a world where half measures and uncertain commitments threaten the very foundations that his eldest son will one day be expected to uphold and preserve. The mathematics are brutal but inescapable. To safeguard what lies ahead, he must be willing to cut away what came before, even when what came before includes his own flesh and blood. To protect the institution his son will inherit, he must sacrifice the relationship with the brother who once meant everything to him. Princess Anne contributes a different dimension of authority to this confirmation. She has earned her reputation as the royal family's truth-teller, someone willing to speak uncomfortable realities that others prefer to avoid. Anne has spent decades observing the institution bend and strain under the relentless pressure of modern media scrutiny, public skepticism, and changing cultural expectations. She does not traffic in sentimentality or wishful thinking. Her currency is survival, and she deals exclusively in the hard truths necessary to ensure the monarchy endures beyond any single generation or crisis. When Anne stands in alignment with William and validates this almost unthinkable decision, she is not merely supporting her nephew's judgment. She is defending a system that has persisted through wars, abdications, scandals, and revolutionary social change, precisely because it understands when diseased tissue must be removed to preserve the health of the organism as a whole. Her involvement in this announcement carries enormous weight and sends an unmistakable message. This is not simply William's personal verdict reached in isolation or anger. This is the judgment of the institution itself, delivered through two of its most committed and experienced representatives. The presence of Anne beside William transforms what could be perceived as a brother's harsh decision into something far more significant: the monarchy's official position on a matter of constitutional and practical importance. For years, the public has been offered a carefully managed narrative designed to maintain hope and minimize conflict. We were told that distance and the passage of time would gradually heal the fractures within the family. Palace sources spoke of ongoing private conversations and suggested that reconciliation remained a possibility if the circumstances were right. But behind those polished public statements, a very different reality was taking shape. Each leaked story to friendly journalists, each tell-all interview broadcast to millions, each commercial venture constructed on the foundation of royal grievances and insider revelations created what palace insiders now describe as a catastrophic erosion of trust. The institution could absorb public criticism. It had weathered uncomfortable truths being aired in public forums before. What it could not withstand indefinitely was the perpetual uncertainty, the endless cycles of speculation about whether Harry remained an asset to the monarchy or had transformed into a liability that threatened its stability. The confirmation delivered by William and Anne resolves that uncertainty with surgical precision. Harry is no longer a factor in succession planning contingencies. He is no longer consulted when matters of state require input from senior family members. He is no longer included in considerations when crisis protocols are activated and the institution must present a united response to external threats or challenges. The documentation has been executed, the legal frameworks have been adjusted, and the constitutional machinery has adapted to function without him. This is not punishment in any conventional understanding of that term. This is the elimination of a variable that the institution has determined threatens system stability and long-term viability. In the cold, clinical language of institutional preservation, Harry has been reclassified from family member with a defined role to external entity, without claims on the organization's resources, loyalty, or future planning. Think about the psychological warfare that must have preceded this moment. For months, perhaps years, William grappled with competing loyalties that pulled him in opposite directions. His love for his brother, rooted in shared childhood experiences and mutual trauma, battled against his duty to the crown and the responsibilities he accepted when he was born into his position. The memory of everything they had survived together fought against the undeniable reality that their paths had diverged beyond any possibility of reconciliation. But in every genuine crisis, there comes a moment when sentiment must surrender to necessity, when the heart must acknowledge the superior claims of the head. William reached that moment when he recognized that Harry's continued, ambiguous status was not merely destabilizing his father's reign during what should be Charles's moment of vindication and achievement. It was poisoning the ground that William's own son would eventually have to walk, creating precedents and expectations that would make George's future reign immeasurably more difficult. The question crystallized into stark and unavoidable terms. Does he sacrifice his relationship with his brother to preserve the institution and protect his children's inheritance? Or does he risk the institution itself to maintain a relationship that had already been shattered beyond any realistic hope of repair? The answer, as painful as it must have been to reach, became obvious once framed in those terms. Anne's role in validating this confirmation cannot be overstated or dismissed as merely symbolic. She represents living continuity, the breathing link between Elizabeth's stoic, duty-bound reign and the uncertain future that stretches ahead. When she adds her voice to William's, she is not simply agreeing with a difficult decision made by her nephew. She is encoding this choice into the institutional memory of the monarchy itself, ensuring that future generations will understand this as a defining moment in the evolution of the royal family. Historians examining this period decades or centuries from now will recognize this as the inflection point where the House of Windsor consciously chose consolidation over expansion, where it made the determination that being smaller but stronger, more unified but less inclusive, represented a better path forward than trying to accommodate everyone under an increasingly strained umbrella. Anne has witnessed enough royal crises across her lifetime to understand that ambiguity is the enemy of stability, and stability is the only currency that truly matters when your objective is preserving a thousand-year-old institution in a world that increasingly questions whether such institutions deserve to exist at all. The confirmation that William and Anne delivered was not accompanied by theatrical displays of emotion or dramatic public pronouncements. That is not how genuine power operates in practice. Real power whispers rather than shouts, because it does not need to convince anyone of its legitimacy or authority. The decision regarding Harry was communicated through the language of bureaucratic finality. Website biographies were updated, protocol documents were revised, succession planning materials were modified to reflect the new reality. To casual observers, these might appear to be minor administrative details, mere housekeeping in the vast machinery of royal operations. To those who understand how institutional power actually functions, these changes represent the complete erasure of a person from the machinery of state. Harry has not simply been removed from the official photograph. The frame itself has been resized and reconfigured so that the empty space where he once stood is no longer visible. The picture appears complete without him, as though he had never been part of it at all. But here is what transforms this moment from merely strategic into genuinely heartbreaking. William knows exactly what he has done. He has not deceived himself into believing that this decision is somehow painless or that the invocation of duty makes it noble or righteous. He has condemned himself to a lifetime of looking at that empty space and knowing with absolute certainty that he is the one who created it. Every family gathering from this point forward, every public appearance where protocol demands a united front, every moment when the cameras capture what is supposed to be royal togetherness, he will feel the absence like a phantom limb. The brother who should be standing beside him, who grew up beside him, who understood the unique pressures of their shared existence, will be an ocean away, legally and constitutionally transformed into a stranger with no claims on the family or the institution. Anne understands this cost as well, perhaps even more acutely than William himself. She has seen enough of royal life across multiple generations to know that the crown always extracts its price, and that price is almost invariably paid in the currency of human connection, emotional authenticity, and personal freedom. The machinery of monarchy does not announce its most consequential decisions with fanfare or lengthy explanations. It simply adjusts the gears, recalibrates the mechanisms, and continues forward, leaving those caught in the machinery to reckon privately with what has been lost. William and Anne's confirmation of Harry's final status represents far more than one family's internal resolution of a difficult situation. It represents the complete triumph of institutional logic over human feeling, the terrifying efficiency with which systems of power can erase inconvenient truths and problematic variables. Consider what is actually happening beneath the surface of this announcement, beyond the sanitized language of official statements. The palace is not simply removing Harry from official duties or stripping away ceremonial titles that he might have retained. It is engaging in what intelligence agencies might characterize as total disassociation, the systematic removal of a person from every lever of influence, every channel of communication, every pathway that might allow them to impact the institution's trajectory or claim any authority derived from their former position. William has reportedly overseen the creation of protocols that ensure Harry cannot, even in the most extreme crisis scenarios, be recalled to service or reintegrated into the operational structure of the monarchy. This goes beyond simple pragmatism into territory that might appear vindictive, except that vindictiveness implies emotion and personal animus, and what we are witnessing is far colder and more calculated than that. Anne's involvement provides the crucial historical context that makes this decision so profoundly significant. She remembers when the monarchy faced genuine existential threats, when public opinion could have swept away the entire institution if the wrong decisions were made at critical junctures. She survived the cultural transition from automatic deference to intense scrutiny, from respect granted by default to legitimacy that must be earned and maintained through careful management. Her confirmation of this decision signals that she believes Harry represents the kind of existential threat that requires permanent resolution, not because he is individually dangerous or malicious, but because the uncertainty he embodies, the fundamental question of whether he is loyal to the institution or independent from it, is itself corrosive to the stability that the monarchy requires to function. The timing of this confirmation reveals careful strategic thinking. It arrives not in a moment of acute crisis that might have forced their hand, but during what appears to be relative calm. That is entirely deliberate. William and Anne are ensuring that this decision is framed as proactive strategic planning rather than reactive damage control. They are communicating, in effect, that this determination is not about responding to Harry's latest public statement or commercial venture. It is about recognizing a fundamental incompatibility that no amount of time, goodwill, or private negotiation can resolve. Harry wanted to occupy a hybrid position, to maintain one foot inside the institution while planting the other firmly outside it, enjoying the benefits and prestige of royal status, while avoiding the constraints and obligations that traditionally accompany such status. The confirmation makes devastatingly clear that such a position is constitutionally and practically impossible. You are either a full member of the firm, accepting all that membership entails, or you are a private citizen with no special claims or privileges. There is no middle ground, no compromise position, no negotiated settlement available. What makes this particularly devastating is the human cost that William and Anne are fully aware they are incurring. They are not naive individuals, unaware of the emotional dimensions of their decision, nor are they callous monsters, indifferent to human suffering. They understand with painful clarity that they are choosing to perpetuate a wound rather than heal it, to make permanent what might have remained temporary if handled differently. But they have made a calculation, conscious and deliberate, that the cost of continued ambiguity exceeds the cost of brutal clarity. They have decided that it is better for the monarchy to face criticism for coldness and rigidity than to remain vulnerable to the unpredictability that Harry's ambiguous status created. It is better to know exactly where the boundaries are, even if those boundaries run directly through the middle of a family, than to exist in perpetual uncertainty about who is genuinely aligned with the institution and who might be working against it. The confirmation also reveals essential truths about William's vision for his own eventual reign. Whenever that time arrives, he is constructing what might be called a fortress monarchy, smaller and harder and more impenetrable than what existed before. The sprawling, extended family model that characterized Elizabeth's era, with numerous cousins and relatives performing royal duties and representing the crown at various functions, is being systematically replaced by something far more contained and controlled. William, Catherine, and their children occupy the center. Anne and Edward provide experienced support during the transition. Charles maintains continuity while he remains on the throne. Everyone else has been moved to the periphery, and Harry is not even peripheral anymore. He has been moved from the edges to completely outside, from family member to foreign entity, from insider to permanent exile. This decision is not exclusively about Harry as an individual. It is about establishing a precedent that future generations will internalize and understand. They will learn that loyalty to the institution is absolute and non-negotiable, that anyone who attempts to maintain a foot in both worlds will ultimately be forced to choose, and that choosing anything other than complete commitment to the monarchy means permanent separation. The children growing up in this family now will learn that love is secondary to duty, that blood matters less than hierarchy, that human connection is expendable when institutional survival hangs in the balance. William and Anne have not just resolved the Harry problem. They have created a deterrent system designed to ensure that no one else ever attempts what Harry attempted. It is governance through preemptive intimidation, the demonstration of power not through its constant use, but through the credible threat of its use, ensuring that everyone understands the stakes before they consider stepping out of